Hallelujah. We're on the fourth gate. We're on page 363 of Sharei Teshuvah, the gates of repentance. And we're talking again, we are discussing the different levels of atonement. Okay. So it says, and we are on part 9, for those who have the same book as I do. Again, 363, and starts with also on the festivals, the other festivals. Everybody has?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay. Also on the other festivals, we set a repast for the joy of the mitzvah, for the reward for joy over mitzvot is great and exalted, as it is said. And now I have seen with joy your people that are present here, offer willingly unto you. And it says further, because you did not serve the Lord your God with joyfulness and the gladness of heart, because the Day of Atonement is a fast day. We are required to set a repast for the joy of the mitzvah on the eve of the Day of Atonement. So, so we learned last week that when you eat the day before Yom Kippur, in other words, Yom Kippur starts, let's say, Wednesday night, so you have to eat on Wednesday, and you're supposed to have a really good meal, not like we do before any other fast day, which is just as little as possible. Well, you have enough that's going to hold you over, but the more that one eats, the hungrier one will be the next day. Really, that's what happens. So if I eat a whole meal, which I'm supposed to, on Erev Yom Kippur, and it's supposed to be like a Shabbos meal, so if I'm going to have that sort of a meal, while there's certain foods I shouldn't eat because that will make me thirsty, but everything else I should. And like I said, the Torah considers it as if we fasted for 2 days. And the biggest reason is because you have a tremendous Yetzer Hara who's kicking in and saying, come on, you really want something to drink, you're still thirsty. There's so many leniencies to how to eat, and so on and so forth. And we have to keep fighting that. And it's also a day that, what makes Yom Kippur actually one of the easier fasts, at least that I have found, is that everybody is fasting. There's a majority of Jews, at one point anyway, but we're fasting. And everybody, again, in the old days, were in shul. And since everybody was in shul, and shul lasts so long, the majority of the day is spent praying, especially when you used to have chazanim who would drag the service along, but nonetheless, you were there. And since everybody is there, we have a group of people who are fasting. Nobody's really saying, are you hungry yet? Unlike when kids are in the car and you get out of the driveway and we're going for a 10-hour trip, and they ask you 5 minutes of the trip, are we there yet? Nobody's asking that about the fast. Nobody's saying, when's it going to be over? No, normally people do not do that while the service is happening. When it's break time, on the other hand, that's when we can get into those discussions. But even there, because most people are dressed in their talit and they're dressed in their good clothes and so on and so forth, so we're really not getting that hungry until near the end of the fast, and that's when everybody starts to feel it and they wait for the shofar blast to know that they can eat. But really, it's an interesting thing of how the Yetzer Hara does work to get you to try to trick you, as it were, to that you want to eat more or you want to break the fast in some sort of manner, and you're looking for all those leniencies, which it really is not that hard to find if you really needed one. Okay. So besides that, we're also, and that's what he's pointing out, we should also have some food that is ready for after the fast. In other words, when you start, if you would end the fast like every other normal fast day, if we just passed fast of Esther, okay? Nobody, to my knowledge, set up food so that when it came to, in this time zone, 8:31 according to my count, the shul 8:50 or something like that. Nobody had food cooking throughout the day or made the food the previous night. Everybody's going to go home. They're going to have either a cup of coffee or they're going to have cereal or eggs. No, you're not having a big meal. You're not even thinking about that. When after Yom Kippur, people have, and it's amazing what people can eat, but people will set up bagels, cream cheese, lox, and so on and so forth, and you have a real meal. Again, in this time zone, because where we are, I'm not sure what everybody does here, but I know that in Moncton, New Brunswick, they used to have break the fast. I thought you were a bar mitzvah. And that's what they used to have, and it's to their credit. I mean, they really honored the mostly Yom Kippur, and other places like New York, they'll also do the same thing. Boston, and most places that you'll have from community, they will have a nice table for when you're coming home. Okay, so and that's what he's talking about. That's why we're setting it up. You can get into a whole philosophy as to why we're setting it up. We don't know we're going to live. We assume we are going to live, and so on and so forth. But it's also an interesting thing of how we're setting up food when that is a day of judgment. You know, it's like when you had to go to your parent-teacher meetings. I always say to my kid, when my parents used to go, that was our Yom Kippur. We didn't know what was going to happen when they came back. If we were good, we were good. Okay? I may even Yavin. So, and again, we are required to set a repast to strengthen ourselves, to multiply prayer and supplication on the Day of Atonement, and to take counsel with ourselves concerning repentance and its essentials. Okay? So we have to think about all of these things while we're praying. And like I said, during Yom Kippur, we have every normal day, Monday through Friday, we have 3 services. The morning service, the afternoon service, and the evening service. Comes to Shabbat, we add 1 more service. We have the Musaf service, the additional service. Comes to Yom Kippur, we're just doing a whole bunch of services now. Now we have Kol Nidre, then you have, which is starting it off, the ending off our vows. And then you have the night, the evening, then you have the morning, then you have the afternoon, then you have the Kol Nidre. I'm sorry, I can't think of the word. So, what's the last service? Ne'ilah. You have the Ne'ilah service, and then finally, and that's the end of that service. So 5 services of Yom Kippur. Again, it's keeping your services a long time. You're really in show a long, long time. And that's all concerned with atoning, with asking God to give us for all of our sins, which we go through 5 times. We explain what sins we have done, and even if we haven't done those sins in that particular year, since King David said, "My sin is always before me," we repeat that sin, even if we didn't do it that year. We always have it in mind that at one time we had fallen into that, and if we ever forget that, then we're bound to fall into it again. Okay, so we can never think we're above it. Just as Lahavdil Elef Havdalon, I'm making a big separation here, but as an alcoholic can never forget that he or she is an alcoholic and can never touch that drink again. So also a person, if they have a sin, they know they fell into that sin once, then the odds are they will fall into it again if they think they are immune. So better to keep reminding oneself that you did that sin, and then you will make appropriate safeguards not to do that again. So even, like I said, even if you beat it one time, doesn't mean you'll always beat it. Just think of how many times you look at your donuts or whatever else, whatever the food is that people like to eat that they know they should not be eating.
I don't know that I'd make that comparison. Substance abuse is something you can overcome. For legal substances, I believe that. You can overcome it and then go back and have that and learn the moderation. Sinning, if you do it a favor, that's a whole different ballpark that you're in because you've been specifically told not to do it. Yeah?
A doctor tells you not to eat donuts, you have to lose weight. So you'd stay on the diet for a little while, you get off, and then you go to a simcha or whatever else, you go to a kiddush, you get off the diet. Then you get on the diet, then you get off. It's a yo-yo. That's why people have yo-yo diets. if you walk into the Walgreens today, you will see a whole section of diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it used to be the new thing on the block used to be cholesterol. Now it's diabetes. Every once in a while they have to change their thicknesses, but it's what really is. And I looked at that and I said, that's interesting. Either people were ignorant and didn't know that they had diabetes all those years ago, or we've just changed the definition of diabetes. I'm not sure which it is, or we're just eating horribly and not taking care of ourselves. Could be any one of those things. Possibly the last you're shaking your head in the last one, fine. It could be that we're just eating horribly, not exercising, and therefore our bodies become very susceptible to that sort of thing. But it's just amazing to me that people really need to be told that they keep checking their blood and everything else. Thank God I don't have it, so I don't know. Obviously it's a very bad disease, but it's something that could have been avoided. And then the doctor tells you don't do it. Again, it kicks in. Sometimes you want it, sometimes you don't, sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. Yeah.
When I was in high school, the big thing for snacks, they brought in a big thing that looked like a pop machine.
Okay.
And they were red apples this big for a nickel. You put the nickel in the machine, you got the red apple. Now, you have Hershey bars, you have,
So you're saying there's diet. Okay.
Too much sugar. Everybody eats junk food from the
Okay.
time they're this big.
Right, so I'm fine with you saying that. I have no problem with saying it's diet. I really don't. It could be that, but I'm saying is that we've come very much aware, and with all that knowledge, again, we're told not to do it. With all that, we still do it until our doctor finally says, oh, you went too far, and now you can't do it anymore. Again, does it stop people? The answer is no. It doesn't. They take their pills. It's like people who have, what's it called, acid reflux. So what do? And they're told, oh, they're lactose intolerant. You can't eat pizza anymore. Oh, please, don't tell me what I can do, what I can't do. Give me the pill. They take the pill that they could eat the pizza. They take the pill a half hour before, and then they eat what they want.
Doesn't work.
I can't answer that. Again, thank God I don't have that problem. But it's, people do it, even if they're told not to. So I don't think it's such a bad comparison. It's God telling us, and how many people take Averot seriously? They think, God's going to be kind to me. He doesn't really mean me. God doesn't really care what I do anyway. Let's face it. That's what people think. That's why if they put the film on, and they put it on incorrectly, when you try to correct them, they say, do you really think God cares? Which I always just want. Of course he does. That's why he told us to do it. But it's that sort of thing. When we keep kosher, if we don't do it properly, if we don't keep Shabbat properly, if we speak Lashon Hara, if we don't have proper behavior in business, any one of those things, we have law books that detail every part of our lives. And that's because God cares about every single part of our life. How we walk, how we talk, how we breathe, and how we tie our shoes even. So if that's the case, so we have to be careful. And yet, do people really concern themselves with which shoe they put on first? Okay, you do. Baruch Hashem.
There was a speech in Fedora on the roof, I do recall.
Just saying. I think we have to, in order to understand the gravity of sin, we have to put into language we're going to really appreciate. May that be crime, instead of sin, call it a crime what it is, a crime against God, or to put it into crime against ourselves, and then using whatever model we know. Like I said, I like picking on dieting, because dieting is what everybody understands. We all understand the diet, we all understand the junk food that we deal with. If you're on the road, you're going to get coffee, you're going to get Coke, you're going to get Mountain Dew, you're going to get whatever the power drink of the week is. Okay, and you're going to take that, and it's horrible for us. It really destroys our system, and yet we do it. Okay.
I'll let you keep your metaphor.
Thank you.
I would argue it, but I'll let you keep it.
Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, let's continue. And if one has transgressed, it's punishable by cutting off, again that's karat, spiritual cutting off, and by judicial death penalties, and has repented, In view of the fact that the sin is not expiated without afflictions, for repentance dispense judgment and afflictions purge, let him set his heart to performing mitzvot which protect one from afflictions, such as the mitzvah of charity, which also rescues one from death, as it is said, but charity delivers from death. And one who has no money with which to do charity, let him speak well of the poor man, and let him be his spokesman and to ask others to treat him well. So that's an interesting thing. If I don't have money to give, so I should become the intermediary, as it were, for somebody else who needs money, and say to people, let's try to support this guy, let's get him a job, whatever the case is going to be. Our sages of blessed memory have said, one who causes others to do charity is greater than the doer himself. By the way, this is one of the most well-known statements for those who collect for the yeshivas. Okay? That if I can get you to give charity, it's better than me giving charity. Everybody seems to know that line. And he says, and let him also engage in the mitzvah of bestowing kindnesses to assist his neighbor through his person and through his exertions. As our sages of blessed memory have said, the bestowing of kindnesses is greater than charity, for charity is performed through one's wealth, whereas kindnesses are performed both through one's person and through one's wealth. Charity is only extended to the poor, but kindnesses may be bestowed upon rich and poor alike. So what he's obviously going for is for us to do Gemilah Chasadim. What is Gemilah Chasadim? What is acts of kindness? Acts of kindness are those actions which I do not want to be paid back for. Example would be, as I said before, visiting the sick. If somebody's sick and I go to them, I obviously don't want somebody to visit me because I'm sick. I don't want to get sick. Okay, so that's something that I do not want to be paid back for. If somebody dies, I go to the funeral, and hell, it's not enough to go to the funeral to honor him, but also to go to the cemetery and bury him, or to be the one to do the tahara, and there's so many mitzvot they have to, or visiting, paying a condolence call. In all of these cases, I don't want to be in that situation where somebody's burying me or visiting Chas v'Shalom my family because I'm no longer in this world. I don't want to be paid back for that. Okay? And of course, the best one is at a wedding, when you go to somebody's wedding and you're dancing to be misamech et hatam v'et hakala, to make the bride and the groom happy. That's again another case where I don't want to be paid back for. I don't want to be paid back for that. Because that would mean that I have to go through the dating process again, God forbid. And nobody who's been through the dating process wants to repeat that debacle. Okay, so we want to stay out of that.
Besides, you have a gem already.
Baruch Hashem, I have a gem, I have a diamond, and whatever you want to say with that. Thank God I have my wife. And I do not want to ever have to go through that again. So, let us both live to 120 until Mashiach comes. We'll be all set. We both will save ourselves from all the headaches of dating. But that's why we say that that's an act of loving kindness. Anything that I'm doing that I don't want to be paid back for, that's an act of loving kindness. On the other hand, when I do something that I do want payment for, in other words, I wouldn't mind, I do you a favor, you do me a favor, that's no longer in the category of Gemilah Chasadim. It's chesed, straight out chesed, it's kindness. I'm doing so. I lend you my lawnmower. I'll expect that I will have an expectation that if I need something from you, you're going to come across to me and give it over. Okay. So it says, and also let him sympathize with the poor man and honor him and console him in his trouble, as it is said, and draw out your soul to the hungry. Our sages of blessed memory have said that one who consoles him with words is greater than one who gives charity. So again, we have a lot of things that are greater than giving charity. If I get somebody to give charity, I'm good. If I console people with words, I am good. What's really at the bottom line of this, according to the, besides, he's picking on the Gemara statements here, but what's Rabbi Yonah really trying to get down to? If I would stop there, what would you say he's trying to get us to understand?
The power of kindness and not expecting things in return is an act of just genuine love and compassion for other people.
Good. And what's the other thing? We have the statement that if Roger was here, he would like this NIMBY, not in my backyard. Okay? When poor people will come to town, we are so quick to send them away. If here, we're pretty good about it. But when you get to the big cities, and you're walking through, like, I'll pick on New York, because New York is famous for that, and you go through the subways, no subways, right? Okay. Go through the subways, you have people who are begging, coming at you from all angles. Jew, non-Jew, it doesn't matter, they're all coming. And you become jaded to the whole system. Because you look at these people and saying, why isn't he working? What's wrong with this guy? He looks healthy to me. And what happens is we become jaded. And they ask and we look at them like, I'm not going to give you a dime. Leave me alone. I have my own charities. Okay? Or we say to somebody, and think about the government in this manner, we say to the government, here, we'll give you money. You keep these people, whoever they are, away from me. Give them the telephones. Give them insurance. Give them what they need, because I don't want them in my neighborhood. I don't want to see them. I'm a charitable guy, but I don't want it to touch me. That's NIMBY, not in my backyard. And he's saying that's not a good attitude. Charity is good. You have to give charity. But it's better to console these people. It's better to show them kindness. It's better to get others to kick in instead of you doing everything.
Do they agree with that? Have you ever tried to give one of these panhandlers kindness instead of money? I don't think so. It can get pretty violent if you don't fork over. So I think that's with caution we have to say.
Yes, of course. But I'm saying what he's trying to get across to us is that it's more important to be kind. You should also give money, by the way. He's not saying you shouldn't give money. What he's saying is these things are better than money, because if I just give the guy the 25 cents or whatever you're going to throw at him, the $5, $20, depending on who you are, $100, then but you throw it at him, or you just give it to him and you spit at the same time. So the person's thinking, what do I need you for? That's all you think about. Leave me alone. As compared to if you are nice to them, like the guys play his guitar, and we always have people in the subways playing guitar too, guitar or whatever they play. Okay, and you give them something, right? They play violin too, and you smile at them. There's something from that they do get more benefit, because they say, oh, it was very nice. I remember when I was walking in Flatbush, so there was a guy selling gloves. Right? So I said, how much? He told me how much they are, right in front of the show. I gave him the money, I took the gloves. I came home, I said, my wife bought gloves, said, what do you need gloves for? Said, the guy was selling something. Let him have some money. It wasn't a bad price anyway, so why not? What's the difference? It was a decent price. I would have had to pay that much in the store. So it made him, where he got the gloves from, I have no idea. But he had a whole bunch of them, so I have to assume they weren't stolen. But but that's what it is. You try to support the guy where he is. Small, here's your money. Okay? And you take it and you wear it. He thinks he's done something good. The gloves, in reality, aren't that great, because they're still cold, but okay. But it's it's not like not like the old gloves. But like I said, that's what he's talking about, where you smile at the person, you talk with the person, you console with the person. And then, if you can give money, you give money too. But it's greater, those acts of loving kindness, again, which I don't ever want. God forbid I would be in that situation where I'm the one that has to be the beggar. I never want that. That's an act of loving kindness. Okay. Let him also engage in the mitzvah of visiting the sick, like we talked about, and burying the dead, consoling mourners, and bringing joy to the bride and groom, and for all of these aspects of loving kindness. For over and against all of these is the mitzvah of learning Torah for the sake of heaven. This is a hard thing to do. We learn Torah for our own personal reasons, but to learn it truly for the sake of heaven is not as easy as it sounds. All of the means which we have mentioned are included in Solomon's statement of by mercy, and truth and iniquity is expiated. For the acquisition of Torah is called an acquisition of truth, as it is said, buy the truth and sell it not. And your law is truth. Your, meaning God's law. Our sages of blessed memory have said in reference to the verse, it is a tree of life to those that hold on to her. We said every time we return the Torah to the ark, if a man transgressed sins punishable by cutting off or by judicial death penalties, if he was accustomed to read one chapter a day, let him read 2 chapters. If he was accustomed to read 1 section a day, let him read 2 sections. In other words, increase whatever you are doing. You need to start paying back the debt. Either that, or you will have afflictions that are set upon you. You have choices here. Everybody has choices in life. And Hashem is just saying, make the right choice. Okay? And if you think about it, when our kids did something wrong, or in a classroom when they do something wrong, so the same thing, the teacher is just saying, give me a reason not to punish you. Improve. And if you improve and you show what you really want to do and what you're capable of doing, that will go a long way to expiating that sin that you did. And I may even forget it by the end. Okay? That's also possible. You ever forget? Am I right, Bill? In your classroom, would the teacher have given the guy a pass if he would improve?
Improvement counseling a lot.
There you go. I know in my schools it did, so I was just curious in the public schools.
It's always important to figure where you start.
That's true. There are 2 considerations accounting for the Torah's protecting one from afflictions. First, our sages of blessed memory have said, the study of Torah is over and against all. And second, the investment of one's labors in Torah, his exertions in it, and the benefit of sleep from his eyes because of it, stands him in a place of afflictions. As our sages of blessed memory have said, all bodies were created for toil. Fortunate is he whose toil is in the Torah. And why is the Torah called Teshua? For it diminishes a man's strength. This is also an interesting concept, that learning Torah will diminish one's strength. So the rabbis in Pirkei Avot, it says that Torah im derech eretz, Torah with a worldly occupation, will stop one from sin. And I believe it's the Bartanara who says the reason for that is Torah weakens you already, because the study says it weakens you, and the worldly occupation completes that. So you're tired when you get home. You just don't have the energy to sin. Really, that's what it does. So if you put all that together, then you'll be saved from sin. But it's, like I said, it's an interesting concept that the Torah will weaken you. The other reason that Torah weakens you is you're not doing exercise. That's really what's going on. I'm not exercising enough. So my body is getting tired. Even though the Shulchan Aruch says that we have to exercise, it doesn't mean that I have to go into the gym, pump iron for an hour, and to look like, Mr. Universe. It just means I have to be in good shape. That I should try to maintain proper weight. Something that, and again, that halacha is a halacha that somehow has gone by the wayside for some people. It's I'm not sure why. That the more religious that some people get, the more they forget. Maybe they're just so immersed in Torah out of merit that they just don't think about that. They're not worrying about what they look like or anything else. But I don't think that's proper Torah ethics at that point. I would think that the rabbis also knew, that they were also immersed in studying Torah, and yet they found time, or actually not found time. They mandated that one has to eat properly and one has to exercise and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Well, you're also talking about a world where going to shul might involve walking more than a mile, and going marketing involves walking, and doing lots of different things involve walking.
Right.
More than riding. There was a world not too long ago where people walked a lot more than they rode.
No, that's true. That's clearly true. And I hear that part of it. But nonetheless, as we grow further and further, we also, because of our modern day advancements, have an ability to really fulfill that mitzvah just by eating properly. Again, I'm talking about simple things to change your life. Eating properly, just to do a little bit of walking, calisthenics, like we're supposed to. Just because we have more events and more time as a result, doesn't mean that we should become less active in that manner. And all under the guise or under the banner of how can I be mevatel Torah? How can I stop learning Torah for a second to exercise? And the answer would be because exercise is one of those things that halacha also mandates. Just as it mandates me eating kosher, just as it mandates me not speaking lashon hara, just as it mandates me acting properly in business, it also mandates that I have to be in good shape and I have to be healthy. And that's why halacha also says, and the USDA wouldn't appreciate this, is that a healthy person should only have 2 meals a day. And it doesn't mean one meal lasting the whole day. It means breakfast and actually a decent lunch and a very small supper of anything. But really you're supposed to have those 2 meals and not more. And it's that's a healthy person. If you're not healthy or if you're elderly, so then you split it up.
Maybe not. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't. Because a lot of people say they do better, and a lot of people do better with eating small meals more often.
Fine. Again, you have to know your own concept.
The basic idea wouldn't be that you wouldn't sit, I think, and have many huge meals in a day, because that'll tire you out. And I think when it says 2 main meals, it probably means that you don't have a big meal.
I would agree with you. I will say it like this,
Yeah.
so we're on the same page.
Right.
You have to know your own constitution.
Right.
Okay.
That's
According to what I can eat, when I'm working, by the way, what happens? People skip meals anyway when they're working. So what the halakha is saying is, I have to, if I'm a healthy person, have 2 good meals.
Right.
Okay. You sit down. Not like what we do, by the way. Well, think about how we eat. We go home, we have a bowl of cereal, Cocoa Puffs, Frosted Flakes, or whatever else you're going to have, okay? Or you're going to have waffles. Or
cereal. You don't eat that every day.
Whatever you're going to have. Or some people have coffee, and that's it. And then at supper, we do it the exact opposite way. Supper is our big meal in this country.
Right.
It is. You say no?
Well, up until the 1950s, out not talking metropolitan city areas, and even like the Amish community and things like that, it was customary to have a probably more substantial breakfast than we have these days. They would have eggs, they would have that and this and that, and then have their big meal. The big meal of the day was lunch, what we call lunch.
Correct.
Noon. And then at night it was like
that's how they are in Israel.
Soup or something very light. It wasn't until the 1950s when the convenience food started to trickle into.
See what you guys did in the 50s? I was born later. That's our problem. But I'm agreeing. See, that's what happens in the 50s. You guys messed up the whole system.
No, that was our parents' generation.
There you go. The parents messed up. What's his name? Richie Cunningham. He's the one who messed up the whole system. There you go. Happy days. But it's the halacha's point is very clear. If I'm going to sleep on a full stomach, that's when all heck breaks loose in your system. So you're supposed to eat the opposite way of what we do. Okay. Now it could be, by the way. Okay, no, that's by the way, even there, the halakha would be probably, we can bring it in earlier, okay? You can bring in Shabbos earlier. There's a lot of ways around this. So if you would go.
And they don't account for the stated outside situation.
Well, the Torah wasn't written for South Bend.
Right.
But even in South Bend,
it's wrong. That's not
let me finish.
It should be.
Micha, let me finish. In South Bend, the plug is 7:45. Okay, that's the earliest you can make Shabbos. So 7:45 at the height of the summer. There's no halacha that says that I have to start Kabbalah Shabbat at 7:45. Baruch Hu. So if you start let me finish. If you start Baruch Hu at 7:45, you'll be finished by 8 o'clock. Okay, if sun is still high, you're not going to go to bed at 8 o'clock, and sun doesn't go down till 10 o'clock yet, 10:15. Okay, so at that point you're going to eat. You'll have a couple of hours, and that's all you need. Nobody tells you to eat like a chazer on Friday night either. You have a repast of some chicken soup. You give the cover to Shabbat night. That's it.
Sometimes that we end up even within our tradition eating at late time.
What I'm telling you is there's no halacha, but there's no halacha that says you have to stuff yourself at that point. You eat appropriately. That's all it's saying. That's all halacha is saying. Okay. So, what?
Nothing. Sorry.
Okay. So now let's go on. It says, and let him, we're on 12, and let him also replace afflictions with fasts and mortifications and the shedding of tears and abstention from pleasures. Okay, we're all trying to figure out how to get out of afflictions. We don't want God to give us afflictions, so we afflict ourselves. Now, by the way, we don't hold...
I'm sorry to do this, but can you give me a context?
We're looking at Shuvah.
I know.
There you go. Okay.
I know, but
we're looking at afflictions. In other words, you did something wrong. What you did wrong is you earned yourself a punishment of either karas or death by the judicial system, which of course we don't have anymore anyway. So what Rabbeinu Yonah is doing is saying he said if we can either wait for God to bring the afflictions to us, or we can voluntarily try to get down the sentence. So he's giving possibilities as to how to do it. One, he's saying get people to give charity. Instead of giving charity, you should give charity, but it's better to get other people to give charity. It's better to show people kindness, acts of kindness. It's better if you have to increase your learning of Torah. And now he's saying another way to do this. And by the way, we're very reticent about one thing he's saying, namely fasts. We don't like to throw more fasts onto us than we already have 5. So to start fasting every day or every whatever it's going to be to try to gain repentance is not something that we look forward to, and it's not even advisable according to Allah. But he is saying that as one of these things. I just want to add that in. And actually, you know what? I'll get it through. Okay. And then mortifications and shedding of the tears and abstention from pleasures. As it is said, my knees totter through fasting, and my flesh is lean and has no fatness. And it says further, turn unto me with all your heart, and with fasting, and with weeping, and with lamentation. All different ways that he's proving that you have to really bring yourself to such a level. In other words, it's not enough just to say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done it, but you really have to feel it if you want to stop the afflictions. That's what, in other words, and I don't think he's saying that once you get the afflictions, this is going to help. It may help to alleviate a little bit, but it's not going to help. It's not going to take it away. As compared to if I do this before anything happens, I take the lead here. That can possibly stave off everything. That's all he's bringing up. Okay, he's not guaranteeing anything. You have to understand this too. He's not guaranteeing anything here. What he's saying is, this can lessen it, it can stave it off. These are all prescriptions that were given. And think about it, when you think you're catching it, I will have to stop here anyway. But it's when you're thinking that you're catching your cold, what do the doctors tell you to do? They tell you to take vitamins or put a bowl some water up and put, what do you like to put in the water? Menthol? Thyme in the water and breathe it in, clear out your nasal passages. We try to do everything to stave off the actual cold from coming in, because once the cold comes in, it's 2 weeks. You're not going to stop it, okay? But if you feel it coming on and you take your proper precautions, the odds are you can push it away really quickly. So that's the same thing with that he's suggesting to us. That I know I did something wrong. That's not a question. I know I did something wrong, and something really bad. So now what has to happen is I have to try to stave it off. And these are the methodologies. We'll have to stop.